As promised, I gathered the 3 most popular Elbaph theories that the community has been coming up with and will be explaining each in this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Loki eats the fruit. As we know, a huge part of Rock's plan and why he wants Harold to join the crew so badly is because Rock wants Harold to eat a certain fruit. He said the fruit will only show its true power if Harold is the one who eats it. However, this specific theory states that child Loki is the one who ends up eating the fruit. And I'm not gonna lie, the evidence for this theory makes it seem pretty believable. When Rox and Harold were talking at the bar, it is then revealed that the children were sitting right outside of it, possibly hearing Rox ask Harold to eat this fruit and Harold saying no. And as we know, Loki absolutely adores Rox. He's asked him to join his crew over and over and has been denied over and over. So what if, in an attempt to make Rox want Loki to join his crew, Loki takes this matter into his own hands, steals the fruit or just finds it or whatever, and is the one who ends up eating it? You know, this theory is pretty straightforward and simple, but I absolutely love it, and it's because it reminds me of someone, and that someone being Luffy. Loki and Luffy have kind of been portrayed as somewhat narrative parallels to each other, and as we know, Oda really likes his parallels. Loki claiming he's the sun god and wanting to destroy the world, while Luffy actually being the sun god and helping the world every chance he gets. So I believe this would tie perfectly back to Luffy, him and Loki both being, bratty children who ate their role model's fruit that they weren't supposed to, albeit for different reasons, still the same thing kind of. This theory isn't too crazy and kind of sounds almost guaranteed to happen, and if it is true, it wouldn't really change that much, unlike this next theory. Rox is alive inside of Blackbeard. When I first heard this theory floating around, I laughed, I rolled my eyes because it just sounds ridiculous. But I'm not gonna lie, after hearing all the evidence and Mr. Morge's amazing video on the matter, I'm linking his video in the description, I genuinely am on the side now that I'm a believer in this theory that Rox is inside of Blackbeard, genuinely living on. And I feel like there's almost a certainty for this theory to come true, because after hearing all the evidence, it just makes way too much sense with the evidence and a narrative level, story-wise. So the specifics of this theory is that, whether it be Rox himself or someone else, the Op fruit was used to implant Rox's personality and soul inside of Blackbeard. And why I like this theory so much is because it kind of fixes everything that we were confused about with Blackbeard. It explains why he never sleeps, because, if this theory is true, how it would work is like Cavendish, where right when they fall asleep, the alternate personality takes over. So it would give an illusion to everyone else that Blackbeard never sleeps, when in reality, it would just be, Rox being awake in the night. And the other Blackbeard mystery that this would solve is why he is able to eat 2 fruits, because one fruit would be the dark fruit for Blackbeard himself, and the other soul would be able to possess the quake fruit. And I also think that this, Mr. Morge never said this, but I think this is why Blackbeard, most of his fights are off screen. And another little part to this theory, when Rox told Emu himself that I will return, I just thought that was so cool. And that scene had too much emphasis on it. That was just a scene by itself. So I don't think Oda would show that scene if he wasn't gonna have Rox and Emu interact again in some form. And that is the main reason I want it to be true, is because I really want to see Rox fight Emu, and I think that would be sick. Instead of it would kind of diverge expectations. We would think that Luffy's gonna fight Emu and Blackbeard, but what if Blackbeard and Rox inside Blackbeard's body fight Emu, and Luffy fights the winner of that, or something like that? I think a villain fight would be absolutely badass, especially if Rox is inside Blackbeard's body fighting Emu. That would be sick. Before we get to the last theory, I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so a like and subscribe would be deeply appreciated. And without further ado, the last theory. Time moves slower on Elbaph. This theory is kind of older than the other 2 theories, because ever since 3-4 months ago, people have been theorizing that time does move slower on Elbaph. And the main reasons, for this being Scopper, Gabon, and Shanks' interaction, where Shanks was like, how many years has it been? And Gabon thought it's only been 4 years. In reality, it's been 10 years. And that seems like kind of a crazy estimate to get off. Being a whole 6 years off, that's more than half of a decade. So that kind of adds up to it, because why would Gabon only think that it's been only 4 years? And the other evidence being Emu getting really mad at the Holy Knights, saying what like, why the hell are you guys taking so long? When in reality, the Holy Knights have not even been there a full day, and Emu is acting like they're just some idiots that haven't been doing shit, when the Holy Knights have actually been, really active. They didn't really fuck around that much. So that's kind of weird how we have these weird time discrepancies which don't really make sense. And automatically, the giants being able to live 3 times longer, or yeah, up to 3 times longer than human years, because that also would make sense that time does move slower, so they get to live for longer, and it would be more human years than it would be giant years. But this theory is kind of I feel like it doesn't really change that much, but the main reason people like this theory is because they want some sort of mini time skip to happen outside of the world, because right now, after the Egghead incident, nothing is really being set up that much, like, to immediately happen. But if you say time moves slower on Elbaph, you can have characters do whatever in the 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, how long it's going to be. You could have some crazy shit happen. Like, for example, we still don't know who's burning down Mirjawa, the Holy Land, and we just seen Kuma go to the Holy Land. Like, we just seen him, and only Akainen was there. We didn't see any extra, like, people or villains or whatever there. So we still don't know who is there, and it wouldn't really make sense for them to be able to go there that fast, because it is at the top of the red line. But it would make sense is if the Straw Hats have been in Elbaph for a day, but it's been 3 days in the rest of the world. 3 days, like, is enough time for that, I feel like. So I feel like people really just like this theory just because they want more shit to happen in the world building of One Piece, and I kind of agree. This theory, I don't really care if it comes true or not, to be honest, because I don't think it would make like that much of a difference. I wouldn't really like care, like, honestly, like, I don't think it would have a huge impact, because it's just gonna make the outside people do whatever they want to do. But the theory, my favorite theory still, obviously, is the rocks living inside Blackbeard theory. I think it just makes too much sense. It's fun. It would be cool. I want to see Emu and Rocks fight, but I know there is like a decent chance it might not happen. But the theory I do think is mostly going to happen is probably going to be the Loki eating the fruit one, just because it makes too much sense, for the story. Obviously, Harold probably never ate a fruit, because Harold never joined Rocks, or that's what we think at least. But, and for this video, I just wanted to kind of compile the most popular theories in case you're out of the loop a little bit. You're caught up to the manga. You just want to, like, hear some cool stuff that could be happening. This is like the most 3 popular theories I've been seeing floating around. I would love to hear your guys' own theories or theories you've heard from other people in the comments below. And as always, see you next time.